I do walk about a mile or a mile and a half on sand on the beach every day. I have a log that I work out with. We have no power steering, so I manually adjust this log for about 50 laps, you might say, and then I walk for another half hour and come back and repeat the drill, and it's helped. 46, 47, 48, 49, 58.
I've got those midget auto blues. I see them coming round by two. I've been watching every night. I'll tell you, brother, they're all right. I've got those midget auto blues.
It can be nerve-wracking, even at this exhibition level. They're standing on the gas, and they are race cars, and they still bite once in a while, unfortunately. So it's good to see that the fans come out and the young people, and once they find out Dad's age and what he's doing, and not just the young people, the old people, they'll come down too, like, geez, I better get off the couch, you know?
Yeah, I've heard this.
So it's been a real positive thing for me, because I was expecting a lot of, what are you thinking here, you know? And him and I never really think about anything too hard anyway, you know, except just doing it. But you know, you do have to sit back, just like he did when I was running. Watching somebody run, this family member, is tough.
Do we want to pull it out yet?
Huh?
You want to take it out?
Yeah, it's good stuff to do.
I was 87 Monday, the 16th.
Here I thought you were 86, but you're 87 now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You'd be the driver.
Well, I'll just...
Yeah, you got to keep moving at this stage of the game, right, Dad?
Oh, break. Break.
I'm picking back up probably close to where I was, but it's been 54 years since I sat in a midget, and they're no toys, but they also, you do, after a few years, learn certain things you can do, and I'm trying to readjust as I left off in 1956. My brothers and I grew up exposed to mechanics and cars and machinery, and racing was in the horizon for me then. So we were living near 4 racetracks that operated, and the sound was fantastic. We would get there early, and when they would warm up, we were all lined up looking through knotholes in the fence. And by the time they started racing in earnest, the promoter would open the back gate, and all of us kids would get ushered up into the grandstand. So that was a neat deal, but we looked like raccoons after looking through that knotholes. Our eyes were black. It was just fabulous to watch these brightly painted cars and colorful drivers, and I was hooked.
Well, I'm part of Golden Wheels fraternity, and we are vintage racers, and we have a story to tell. We talk about racing history, and we show racing history.
One of the guys on the crew on the car that I was on had a vintage car, and the wife and I just kind of went bananas and said, you know what, when I quit racing, we're going to build a vintage car so we can still keep playing, you know, and do this stuff. So that's what we did.
When I was 16, I got my first race car. They instructed me how to drive it home, and I had a wild ride for about a mile and a half, throttle stuck, and it was absolutely terrifying, and the wheels were almost ready to fall off. It was just wired together, this whole car. My mother and sister were waiting to greet me in the new car, and they jumped out of the way just in time because the thing wouldn't stop. I couldn't get it out of gear. And I knocked over the outhouse at my father's shop.
On the West Coast here, we got West Coast Vintage Races, we got Golden Wheels, we got Western Racing Association, Bay Cities Racing Association. There's a lot of organizations, and we have pretty similar rules. We compete with each other as far as some of the promoters will give us a trophy, and you know, you can't eat a trophy.
1 out of 2 people were killed in the 1930s and the 1940s driving these types of cars. And so I have a very healthy respect for how dangerous it can be.
Well, the danger is there in these little cars, but you don't think it's going to happen to you. Sometimes when it does happen, then you sit there, and at least I did, I sit there, wonder why I'm doing this.
We don't have the safety equipment that the modern day cars have. I'm out there driving without a cage, with only a laptop belt, and all it would take is one car hitting my wheel and I would be flipped over.
Coming home from the Navy, I was able to finally go racing. Racing was started after World War ban, so I paid $550 for a used Midget and trailer and all the spare parts. The first race was Easter Sunday in 1946. I thought I was a racer, but after driving a few warm-up laps, I couldn't go 2 laps without spinning out. I just couldn't catch on to it. I didn't have the feeling, and I was going to quit, and then my mentor, Claude Walling, walked me over to the entrance of the Playland Stadium, and we walked outside, and people were lined up clear to the street for tickets. So I got on the back of a heat. That's where they start new guys anyway. And I think it was a 6-car heat and 10 laps. And when we got the flag, they had told me a lot of things about racing, but they had never told me about the smoke, sand, and rubber that hits you in the face. We had open, you might say open helmet with goggles, and bare arms with a t-shirt, and no windshield. When the green flag dropped, all the sand and grit and smoke come back and buried you in the rear running cars, and I didn't like it. I mean, I thought, I don't know why I'm getting into this.
And it's a good car. It's a good, stable platform. The two of them seem to like each other real well.
Oh, the car's great. It's on rails. This guy's an ace mechanic, and I have no problem.
Golden Wheels kind of got me back to racing again, because I kind of liked the racing type idea, and Golden Wheels was older people that I'm getting older every day, never going to get any younger, so I figured, well, I'd kind of get back into racing. A lot of racing you have to pass a physical, and Golden Wheels, if we had to pass physicals, there wouldn't be any Golden Wheels.
When you run one of these cars, you don't know what's going to shake off, even how careful you've been. That's why you got to keep going over them and over them. Well, hopefully we can find a part we need, a small pipe plug. Rattled it out somehow.
Get those aluminum brass pipe plugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big
Take a
item.
couple of them if you can.
It's big when you lose it.
It's big when you lose it.
Yeah. I'm still learning, relearning. There's things you can remember. There's other things your timing's off, and I'm not trying to prove anything. I just want to get a good ride. When I started on the B main, I was on the front row, and I got the green flag, and man, this was fun. I'm out in the fresh air, and I'm leading this thing, and I'm going to win it. I was counting my first place money, I thought, when they stopped the race because of a problem back there. They threw a yellow, they slowed the race, so we ran under caution for a couple of laps.
Well, the green is just like a signal on an intersection. That means go. And then the yellow flag means caution. And then, of course, the red flag means stop.
This is how inexperienced I was. They restarted with the green flag. I looked at it and drew a blank. I had no idea in the middle of a race what the green flag was for. See, I was so keyed up. I was thinking about that first place money when Red Pugh, one of the Oregon drivers, waited patiently, and finally he got tired and went by me. And afterward, I finished second in a race I should have won. It runs like a Swiss watch. He's got tires that I had to change my driving style, I'll tell you. I can't even start the car the way I used to.
These race cars have no transmission, no clutch. So they have a lever generally between their legs that is either in or out. So when the race car gets pushed up to the starting area, the driver has to reach down and put it in gear. And he is now locked solid, metal, to the rear wheels. So the push truck fellow now has to, when everything is clear and ready to go, he has to accelerate that race car, and the rear wheels on that race car will not be turning for several feet. The engines are very high compression, and the engine hasn't got enough friction on the wet tires to turn the engine.
And the very next Saturday, we went to Spokane on dirt, and there was my first dirt race. Well, that was a short one. Daylight at Spokane in the hot weather is dry, dusty conditions. The track was full of holes. Well, my car was old. The shock absorbers were faulty. I'm not sure if they even worked. And the car was bouncing all over. I got through qualifying all right, and then I started in the heat. The deep holes jarred the breather cap out of the engine, and the cap jumped in up under the throttle linkage, wedged the two carburetors wide open, and I never saw the corner. I went right through the fence, and it was absolutely a terrifying ride down, upside down, this bank of gravel. And I never ate so much gravel and dirt in my life. The car was full, my helmet was full of gravel, my mouth was full. They didn't even miss me because it was so dusty. They were lining up another heat, and somebody says, Mel isn't here. And I was climbing up the bank about then.
I have a 69 Edmunds sprint car. Throttle stuck, and I hit the wall about 95 miles an hour. But thank God there were water barrels in turn one. I went into the water barrels, hit the concrete wall, went up and flipped over on its back, slid down, and it knocked one of the water barrels down the track. It came through the top of the cage and hit me on top of the head and busted my neck and a couple places in my back too.
In 1950, we held the Washington Midget Race Association held a benefit race for Del Fannin, who was injured really badly early in the season in a roadster crash when the throttle stuck.
That was the worst crash I have ever witnessed. And I've witnessed some fatal crashes. The car went full bore into the earth-backed south turn wall at the Aurora Speedway. The entire car more or less disintegrated. The body shifted forward, the engine fell out when they moved it. Del was grievously injured in that, and I doubted he would survive, because I was there trying to help on the cleanup, get him out of the car and everything. So when he goes to the hospital, the Roadster Association goes to the treasurer and to get some money for it, and come to find out, the treasurer has absconded with all of the money, and there was no crash fund.
They released him from the hospital and brought him out to the track in an ambulance, and we put on a multi-car race exhibition to raise money for his benefit. This was the Midgets, the Midget Association, the Big Car Association, and I believe the Roadster Association. All three were quite competitive, trying to outdo each other because we wanted to put on a good show. We were running three abreast coming out of the north turn, and we had been running that way all through the race, and it was a fantastic show. Don, we called him Roller Bearing Hale, was the third man wide coming out of the corner, and he got too wide and nicked the fence and came off the fence and ran over Ray Mann who was alongside of me. Well, I had no place to go. Ray was sideways in front of me, so I drove over his front wheel because Jack Turner was alongside of me, and why take somebody else when I got one right there? So when I landed, coming out of the north turn, I started sliding upside down, and I went the full length of the straightaway with this helmet between me and the racetrack, and this hole over here on the one side is where the headrest punched a slot through there. It saved my life. I had hot oil pouring over me, and when I landed finally at the foot of the ambulance, almost in the ambulance that brought Dell out, but ironically, I took over his bed that he was released from that morning. Well, the staff was amazed to get another race car driver to replace the one that just left that morning. When I decided to retire, the last active race was a 100-lapper at the old Playland Stadium. Len Sutton, one of my real fierce competitors, won it, and I was second. I don't know what their car took in, but I think ours took in $15 for this 100-lapper. I'd made about $60 or $70 a day before at my new job, and the crowds were dropping off in racing, and the purses were getting smaller and the family was getting bigger, so I quit in 1955. So anyway, Dennis was at the age of being eligible for Cub Scouts, and they said, I want you folks to meet the new Scoutmaster. Well, Mr. Anthony, please stand up. And hey, I didn't volunteer for this, but anyway, it happened, and we had fun, and we did a lot of activity in the group.
Yeah, we didn't exactly follow the manual, but everybody learned how to weld, so I guess it was a plus.
I actually met Dennis when I was 5. And they moved into our neighborhood, and my brother was a Cub Scout with Dennis.
Mom was real, my mom, Barbara, she was real good about Sunday and formal dinner and bring the savages in and make them sit at the table and behave, you know. Dad and I'd be kind of busy sometimes. We'd run in and belly up with our T-shirts, and so one Sunday she got tired of it and left the table and come back with nothing but her bra on. So Dad and I got the message that we had to dress for dinner, yeah.
Dennis and I started dating when he returned from military service. We hadn't seen each other for a number of years, and he brought back with him a race car chassis when he got out of the Marine Corps in California. And Mel had promised him that when he got out of the Marine Corps that they would build a race car together. It took, a couple years to build the car, because they built everything basically. Fabricated all the different tanks and things for them, and all the lines and the aircraft bolts and whatever.
I think all in all, between rags and riches, and probably maybe 10 years
right.
altogether. You know, there's some off and on periods and times, and other rides, other people's cars, and putting our own stuff together. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, we spent a lot of cold nights in a small garage. That's kind of why it's my turn now. I'm spending the nights in the garage, and he's the star again.
Not quite as cold,
So
though.
we went full circle, you know.
I got a tumor, and I had to be hospitalized, and it lasted too long.
And then they took him in and found that his system was septic, and did some tests and found out that he had a major obstruction, and so he was in ICU for quite a while.
I remember the surgeon explaining to my parents that most people half his age, well, a lot of people half his age don't make it through this surgery, so they were sort of preparing us that that might be a possibility, or that it was a real possibility.
Everybody, the family was gathered, and so as it went, day after day after day. And
it was beyond being sick. It was pretty scary. We didn't really know if he was going to make it from one time, or, you know, for a while there, but he came from behind, pulled it off, and, you know, he has a pretty strong will, which he demonstrates all the time. So, to his credit, once he got him going and out of there for good, he worked on it, got his weight back up, and did all the right, correct things. And in the meantime, we got the car ready because he decided that he'd be able to handle that too. So.
I've got those midget auto blues. I see them coming.
Is there anybody that doesn't have a copy of the lineup for their races? Know where they are in terms of the field? And also on the back, you'll see the order of events. We're going to run the vintage midgets first, WMRA second, vintage sprints third. Because with everybody in the main and running 15 laps, it's going to be pretty crowded out there, so you want to be real careful in the main. The heats, you can probably run a little hotter. Plus, in the heats, the cars will be pretty well matched up. You won't have as much difference between the quicker and the slower cars. You want all the vintage cars out for the fan appreciation thing. I think they realize that they're really the biggest part of that show. Everybody be ready. We'll have the ATVs running. We'll get you all pushed out there, and then the little kids can come down, get pictures of the car and that kind of stuff. We really have the best cars.
He's got the helmet. They'll start the dash from there. Yeah.
I heard you used to race with Kelly's dad.
I raced with Mark.
He used to race with older kids.
I raced with everyone's grandfather. See, I get a trophy already.
And make damn sure you tighten all your seat belts up when you go out. Okay? Make sure you got all your gear on. You run down the front chute in this racetrack, the wind predominantly blows the way it is. It'll blow dust and dirt across. It'll sneak up on you. If you spin, lock it up, stay there, don't let the car roll. If you got somebody behind you that's coming around, what's going to happen is they'll go to where you're invariably going to roll to.
It's a 1947 Curtis with another 110 off the unit. Dennis Anthony, the driver, owner I should say, Mel Anthony, 86 years old, out of Shoreline, Washington, driving his car.
It's over. Stop, Brian. Good job. Good job. Shut her off. Yeah.
Well, when we were racing, that was our entertainment. And so everything, pretty much, actually it sounds familiar like right now, but everything revolved around it, and before we had children. And so my thing was to get ready each week to race.
Okay. Get out of this thing. Good job.
Yeah, well, didn't go anywhere.
No.
Saturday morning early, the guys were preparing the car all week long and every night until 11 or 12 again. And I should have written a cookbook, 101 things to do with a pound of hamburger, but that enabled us to buy a new right rear tire for every Saturday and Sunday wherever we were racing.
But it's nice in the end to see the smile it brings on not just his face, but the people that come down and they mob him afterwards.
I get
and,
big hugs from old ladies,
yeah,
young girls,
well, yeah,
old
he's
men
a-
with tears in their eyes. No
Yeah.
kidding.
There was kind of an ugly mauling you did at a trophy girl, though. Yeah, come on.
My car is running excellent. I'm having a great time. I always have a good time at the racetrack. I have fun at the racetrack now. It's like it was when I first started racing. That's the fun part about this vintage racing is we all get together. If somebody's got a problem, everybody jumps in and helps, and we just have fun. There's no prize money or any of that, and we all get 40% of nothing, and 40% of nothing is still nothing.
Got the lead early, which was a good break. Once you get the lead, you have it made because at least if you can hold it, you'll win it. But trying to get the lead from the back isn't always easy. I mean, it's a long way to go. There was one that was really in earnest, and he was another good chauffeur, and he was with me the whole race. He wanted it. Those that were left were going pretty good, so we squeaked through and got the lead. And then I was hoping for the white flag. I said, "Oh God, this is got to be longer than 10 laps," but it wasn't. It was here come the white flag, and the 32 car made a desperate run, but he couldn't quite cut it, so I got it, and it was fun. I haven't won a race for 54 years, so it was kind of neat.
He's been a good father and a heck of a good friend. We've been buddies all our life, too. So stuff. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to help him do something that I guess most people would consider a little stupid or crazy at this stage of my life, or especially his. But we kind of got a philosophy around our house, if you can still do it, or you can do it, do it.
I've got those midget auto blues. I see them coming round by two. I've been watching every night. I'll tell you, brother, they're all right. I've got those midget auto blues. To the speedway I must go out where you'll hear the motors drone. Round the track comes 44, he's on the fly. At the rough south bend comes 7-6, his tire blows, he's in a fix. He hits the rail, begins to roll, you'll hear him cry. I've got those midget auto blues. Next day you'll read it in the news. Courageous driver hits the rail, the tire is fixed, he hits the trail. I've got those midget auto blues. One night I bet on 82, the car was bright, a royal blue. My sights were set, I knew that it was bound to win. My auto started out just fine, the next 10 laps he was miles behind. Wonder why I've got those midget auto blues. I've got those midget auto blues. Why did my baby have to lose? Well, tomorrow he will win, 'cause I'll be there to root for him. I've got those midget auto blues.